Hello, welcome to the video that goes with the third journey, um, which is about powering up. So it's an initiation where I met with my guide, Tuana, through meditation, and she took me to the mound, this amazing fairy mound. So I wanted to read you, just talk about my journals, which I recorded these original journeys in when I was doing these meditations. And so this is the one that I can't see anything with this background. This is the one that I recorded. If I hold it there like that, these journeys in, and I've got quite a few others. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So at least 7 completed journals. Another one there. I'll add some pictures of these so you can see them in a bit more detail. And so this particular journey I recorded on the 29th of March 2019. And I thought I'd just read a little bit of that. So, because there's some interesting wisdom in here that my guide gave me. So, after journeying into the fairy realm, I found myself underneath a vapor of white and grey. And I was naked and sinking through the vapor. And once I'd finished falling through this vapor, I found myself rising up to the surface of a river, and I gasped for breath and pulled myself up onto the muddy bank. And it really felt very primeval, like I'd gone to a far distant time. And I'd written it, it was like the dawn of time. It's quiet, apart from the waters running by and the singing of birds. And they were tropical sounding birds, which was interesting. Then I saw a rowboat approach. The rower has their back to me and shrouded in a long, dark, hooded cloak. As they draw near, I peer into the darkness and the hood and see glowing eyes, or glinting eyes rather, not glowing. He pulls back his hood and I gasp with fright as I see it's Samazane. So Samazane is a guardian, a land guardian that I met in about 2016 in some woods near a reservoir near my home in Devon. And I'll share a picture of him. He is kind of, I realise now in since that he could be like a dog man because he has a very canine appearance. So he's humanoid with a very sort of canine type face, got long dog ears, very dog like muzzle. Yeah, so I'll share a picture of him. So if his appearance took me back a bit. He invites me to step into the boat and offers me a white robe. I feel comfortable naked, yet decide to put on the robe. So this is the first part of going into this fairy realm and this whole series of initiations, putting on this symbolic white robe. I see a tall white-robed figure waiting on the shore of the riverbank. And this is Tuana. So she has 3 to 5 sparkling coloured lights emanating from her third eye and going up to her crown chakra, up her forehead. I did draw a picture of her, a really quick sketch in Viro, which I'll take a photo of and put that as part of the resources for this. So you can see what she looked like. And I spoke to her about some of the things that were going on with me at the time. And she gave me, when she welcomed me, she put her hand up like this as a sign of welcome, like almost like this Native American howl. Welcome. The bank of the river is steep and mossy. We climb up and it's ferny. A huge green mossy mound rises from the woodland floor. She waves her hand and the mound begins to open and quiver. It's very sensual. And as it opens, a crack of blue light shines out. She turns to me in a gentle voice and says, "You may enter," and reaches to take my left hand. We go into the light of the inner realms, and I step in. "We will only go this far today," she says. So the crystal part of the journey that you'll hear about was in my next meeting with them. um, so just pause. So the next day, 30th of March, this is when we entered the mound. And since this experience, all these 4 years later, I've recently been listening to a folklorist called David Halpin being interviewed, and he was talking about how, this is something I didn't know, lights have been seen coming from fairy mounds in Ireland. So this idea of these mounds lighting up is a phenomena that people have experienced. I didn't know that when I was having this particular journey. So that's interesting to me, that it sort of said to me that I was, like verified or authenticated for me that this was, a real experience I was having in this other dimension, these real connections that I was experiencing. So we went into the mound, and then she introduced me to this crystal cluster. Once we'd gone through these blue mists, and I asked her, "What's it for?" And she said, "To power you up, Claire." So it's a bit like a battery on a psychic level. And I asked her, there was a course I was thinking about doing at that time that I've been looking at that somebody else had created about fairy shaman initiation. And I asked her whether I should be doing that. And she said, "This is it. This is the initiation. We are initiating you to the next level." And then she said something strange, like the games humans play, there are many levels of initiation in Faerie, of the blessed realms. So we put our hands together, and she said, "And now you see." So this is really interesting. So it's like she's giving me this insight through touching my hands. And then I spoke to her. I realized I could ask her lots of questions about what I was doing at the time, thinking about my business, etc. at that time, back in 2019. So it's a really interesting experience that I recorded in these series of journals. And I'm going to do a separate video where I'll show you some ways that you can create a fairy journal, like in the way that I created these. So these are all hardbacked books that my dad gave me when he left his job in construction. He had, and they were clearing out the stationery, and he rescued all these lovely hardbacked journals, which I then have decorated. So I can show you how I've decorated these. I'll do a separate video, and it's just a nice way to personalize and add some extra magic. There's also so these are, I haven't really done much with inside, but there's other things you can do with the inside of the journal to make it more interesting as well. Decorate the pages. If you want to paint in there, there's ways that you can strengthen up the pages. You can add, there's another type of journal where you can add some magic to the pages So I will do some little videos on journal creation. Um, and it's all different ways that you can add a personal touch to keeping a record of your journeys in the fairy realm if you're doing this course or any other fairy work after this. So for me, this is like an ongoing pathway. So this course is just a stepping stone to start with working with the fairy realm on a regular basis. So I hope that once you've completed this, you'll continue your journey and in working with the fairies in any way that serves your path. And I'm just looking out in the garden and there's a little gnome looking at me. I've got some stone gnomes in my garden that I found online or when I was doing my garden a year or so ago. And he's looking at me from the garden. So yeah, it's not a real one. um, yeah, but they definitely bring the fairy energy to my garden, which is and the level of protection as well. Gnomes are very protective. So thank you for listening, and I'll create a little video um, for the next audio recording part 4 next week. Okay, bye for now. Lots of love from me and the fairies, and thanks for being here.